So yesterday, Apple announced a bunch of different devices at their event, one of which being the iPhone 12 mini, which I thought was especially interesting, and it's really been creating a lot of excitement because there's really nothing on the market like that. Now, what I mean is, you really can't find a small phone with flagship specs, a great camera, a great screen, and a very powerful processor on board. It doesn't exist out there. And I know this because a lot of people have been asking me like, hey Mike, I want a smaller phone, but I don't necessarily want the iPhone 6. I don't really want the iPhone SE. And there's really not a whole lot of small Android phones, at least not this small. So I think this is going to really satisfy a very specific market that has really been looking for a phone like this. And I'll talk more about that in a second. But talking about the iPhone 12 lineup as a whole, I think this might be the most significant iPhone release we've had in a really long time. And there's a couple reasons I say this. So first of all, the most obvious one is that it's coming with 5G. And 5G, we've been hearing about it for a couple years now. The Galaxy phones have had it, other phones have had it for a while. The infrastructure's out there. But when Apple finally adopts something, being so popular, at least in the United States, it tends to create a more widespread adoption. So more people are going to start using 5G. It's going to spread and really kind of finance the backbone of the next generation of connectivity. So 5G on here is definitely very exciting. It's a big push forward, and it's really exciting, especially on the iPhone mini here, that they're putting it on the entire lineup. So you don't really have to choose between getting 5G or not getting 5G. If you get the newest iPhone, you're getting 5G. It's really nice. Now, the next reason I think this lineup is very significant is because Apple finally made a pretty significant design change here and moved away from the very round edges they've had for a while. So a lot of people pointed out that Apple hasn't really changed their aesthetic or their design in such a long time that people really haven't had any reason to upgrade. It doesn't look any better if you upgrade. It's really hard to tell if you upgrade. The camera bumps last year are an exception, but for the most part, like a lot of people wanted to see something different. And finally, we have the square edges that match like the iPad Pro, and I think it looks really nice. It looks more like we saw with the iPhone 5, but with much more modern infrastructure in here. So I think that's a very welcome change. And then the third big thing that's different is if you really look at what people complained about with iPhones, any reason that people were going for premium Android phones, for the most part, it was because like one of them, what they would say is the screen. Having a 720p screen, a giant notch on the top, giant bezels around there, like the screen was just not as good as so many other phones on the market. And so finally this year, Apple made some pretty significant changes here. We have way thinner bezels. It's like 15% smaller and lighter of a phone with the same screen size. And so you're having way thinner bezels and a much more compact design for a better screen to body ratio. And on top of that, the screen is finally significantly better, being a 1080p screen. It's also going to be brighter and more contrasty. With this one right here is a 5.4-inch screen, but it's a Super Retina XDR OLED display. So bunch of fancy terms there. Really what that means is the display is going to be a lot better. So I'm sure by now some of you might be thinking like, hold on Mike, why are you excited about a small phone? Wouldn't a bigger phone be better for multitasking and for watching media and playing games? And while all of that, yes, it is true, a smaller phone is also very appealing to a lot of people out there. I've been hearing a lot of people saying that they don't want to get rid of their old phone because the new phones are just so big and they can't get used to that. And there's a couple of reasons that people would like a smaller phone. One of them is that, I mean, think about like women's clothing, for example. I know like whenever I go out with my girlfriend, I always have her phone in my pocket because women's clothing just doesn't have big pockets. On top of that, anybody who has smaller hands would probably struggle with a bigger phone when you're trying to type or just reach across the phone. And I mean, a smaller phone is definitely very appealing. You're going to drop it less. You're going to have an easier time fitting it in your pocket. If you're going for a run, that's like a smaller thing to carry on your arm. It's appealing for a bunch of reasons. It's not for everybody, but it's definitely appealing to quite a few people out there. Oh, and of course I can't forget probably the most exciting feature about the iPhone 12 lineup being the MagSafe thing on the back. I'll talk about that later on in the video, but essentially it fixes a huge problem of being able to magnetically set your phone places or put things on the back and being able to wirelessly charge. So fix that, we'll talk about that later on in the video. But getting back to the iPhone 12 mini, like I said, you don't have all the compromises that I would expect. And in many ways, if you are between the iPhone 12 mini and the iPhone 12 Pro Max, like the differences are not going to be that significant other than the price. And so finally you can look at the phones and choose them really based on the size. Of course, you do get some extra things with the Pro Max in the Pro lineup, but for the most part, you're getting a lot in this phone. Now, talking about this one in particular, let's look at it physically here. You'll see on the back, we have two lenses, we have a flash, we have a microphone on the back. So that's really nice that we're seeing all of that there. On top of that, on the outside, like I said, we have that boxy edge. We still have the same button configuration that people are used to with the little switch on the left side, the volume up, the volume down, and the power button on the right side. Again, on the bottom, we have our speakers, no headphone jack, as we've been seeing for a while now, and we have our lightning port. Unfortunately, not USB-C yet, but it is a lightning port, so regardless, it's gonna be the same. Now, unfortunately, this does not come with a charging cable or earbuds in the box. They claimed it was for environmental reasons, which I'm sure it does help the environment, but you also have to go and buy them separately then. On the front, like I said, a 5.4-inch screen. We still have the notch on the top for Face ID, and this has now a ceramic shield is what they're calling it, which is essentially a ceramic crystallized composite. It's a composite material that's essentially not glass, so it's going to be, they claim, 4 times stronger. We're not sure if that means stronger as in like more scratch resistant, more shatterproof, stronger if you like stretch it. They don't really specify what that means. I'm sure people will be showing some drop tests in the future, but being stronger, it should definitely be a good thing. This is also IP68 water resistant, and it's available in black, red, green, blue, and white, so 5 different colors to choose from. I thought they all looked really cool, especially with that boxy aluminum frame around there. I mean, I think this phone really just looks like probably the best iPhone, at least in a really long time. And getting back to that MagSafe feature I mentioned before, this is something Apple's putting on the inside of the phone to essentially allow accessories to magnetically snap onto your phone, which is very exciting for a bunch of different reasons. So one of them is for wireless charging. This is the first thing they mentioned because no longer do you have to worry about setting it on a wireless charger and maybe it's not placed perfectly. Now you can use, it's kind of similar, it looked similar to the Apple Watch charger where it just kind of magnetically slaps on there and you can locate it, it'll be in the right spot every time, and it'll charge up very easily. Now, of course, you can also use these magnets for a lot of other things. They showed that like Belkin was working on some little phone stands for your car, or maybe just a desk stand as well. They showed little wallet things slapping on the back, cases slapping on the back, although I'm not really sure why you need a case to slap, like cases usually grab onto the rest of the phone, but regardless, they can slap on the back if you wanted to. And so essentially, I think this is a really cool design that no other phone, at least not that I'm aware of, has anything like this. And this is a big problem because, a lot of times I like to have the magnetic mounts in my car, on my desk and things like that, but you can't charge wirelessly then because it gets really, really hot. It's not safe to do that and you shouldn't do that. Similarly, you can't put credit cards in the back if you wirelessly charge. You can't put a giant case on the back if you wirelessly charge. Like there's a lot of things that you just can't do if you want to use wireless charging, and wireless charging is nice. So being able to compromise and put those features inside with a magnet and the wireless charging inside the phone, I think is a really great part of that. I think that's a great thing that Apple did. That's awesome. Apple also made quite a few significant improvements to the cameras, which already were really good on the iPhone 11, and they're improved on the iPhone 12, and also brought down to the iPhone 12 mini here, which again is just a really exciting thing to have in a small, relatively affordable phone. So some of the improvements they made, the first one is much better low light photos. This is a big improvement, but last year the low light photos were already pretty good. So I'm very excited to see a significant improvement there. On top of that, the A14 Bionic chip in here is really giving us a lot of power, but also a dedicated image processing chip. So everything you're doing with photos, you have a dedicated part of your processor directly for that. And then probably the most significant improvement to the cameras, or at least what Apple spent the most time talking about, is the ability to record and edit 4K HDR Dolby Vision video, which I know a lot of people don't know what that means. That means that the videos are really, really high quality. They're like professional grade. They're gonna look really good, great colors, very bright, very vibrant, and it's gonna be a great quality video. Honestly, Apple already had pretty much the best video in the industry. There's a couple other phones out there that take great videos as well, but this is really putting them in a spot that's going to be really hard to beat. So really, to summarize, the iPhone 12 mini here has a couple really big key highlights. The first one being the MagSafe. On the back, it's something that I think is going to be a great feature to have. I really hope other phones copy this, and I really hope they use the same design so it's interchangeable, but that's a really big plus there. Another one is going to be the size. I think having a small size here and yet really high quality flagship specs is going to be a really good selling point for this device. I think a lot of people are going to be interested in that. And actually comment down below if you would be interested in the size of this phone, or if instead you'll be looking more to the iPhone 12, 12 Pro, or 12 Pro Max. And then of course the great cameras on here, like I talked about, having 2 cameras on the back, great photo quality, great video quality, having that A14 Bionic chip on there, which we expect to be the fastest chip out of any phone to date. And of course, all of that on this phone for $699, which again is a really good price for all of those specs. Of course, it's in a smaller form factor, but for some people, this is just the perfect phone to get. So comment down below. Let me know what you guys think of the iPhone 12 mini. I'll be making a full review on this in the future, so if you want to see that, go on down and click the subscribe button and the bell icon. Thank you for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.